Welcome to Derry. Episode 3 Ending Explained. Episode 3 of IT. Welcome to Derry takes everything we thought we knew about Derry, the cursed Maine town, and twists it deeper into horror, memory, and myth. The episode balances 3 major threads: the adults' hunt for the entity, the kids' desperate search for proof, and the haunting connection between General Francis Shaw and Rose Standpipe. And at the center of it all, Pennywise finally makes his first real appearance, just not in the way anyone expected. This episode is quieter and more psychological than the first 2, but it's packed with symbolism and foreshadowing. By the time the credits roll, everything about the town feels wrong, even its memories, its soil, and its history. The failed aerial mission. The government's obsession with finding and weaponizing the creature beneath Derry hits a wall at the start of episode 3. The car the military unearthed last week turns out to be a dead end, so General Francis Shaw, desperate and frustrated, orders one final attempt: an aerial search. He sends Leroy Hanlon, Polly, and Dick Halloran on a helicopter mission to survey the area where the creature supposedly sleeps. Dick brings along a strange tool, the old slingshot once used by Rose to strike the monster decades earlier. That same weapon seems to carry a kind of psychic echo. When Dick focuses on it mid-flight, he's flooded with visions: the forest twisting into shapes, the earth opening into a mouth, a circus tent glowing beneath the soil. And then, behind the red and WH stripes, eyes. Yellow, animal eyes staring directly into him. The intensity of this psychic link nearly drives Dick over the edge. Under the creature's influence, he's compelled to jump from the helicopter. Leroy saves him at the last second, hauling him back inside as the Chinook banks away. It's a moment that ties directly into the shining universe. Dick's shine makes him vulnerable to entities that feed on psychic energy. For the first time, we see how its hunger extends beyond fear. It might crave Dick's psychic essence, what Dr. Sleep calls steam. After they land, Leroy invites Dick to dinner, not out of kindness but curiosity. He's seen enough to know that Dick's abilities aren't just strange, they're dangerous. Dick reads Leroy's mind at the table, glimpsing flashes of Leroy's son, Will. Leroy feels the intrusion instantly. He warns Dick never to enter his mind again. The two men recognize each other in that moment, one gifted, one fearless, and an uneasy alliance begins. This new bond could define the season. Leroy's fearlessness may be the perfect counterbalance to Dick's psychic sensitivity. And if it is indeed targeting Dick's power, Leroy may be the only thing keeping him alive.
How do you even know about it? It's my friend's place. Their hangout.
The kids plan for proof. Meanwhile, the younger cast continues to drive the heart of the story. Lily Bainbridge refuses to accept that Hank Grogan, Ronnie's father, is guilty of the Capitol Theater massacre. She's convinced that something supernatural is responsible for the string of murders plaguing Derry. Determined to clear Hank's name, she hatches a plan: capture photographic proof of the monster. Ronnie, Will, and Rich agree to help. The 4 kids represent a losers club, curious, brave, and slightly reckless. They break into the cemetery one night armed with flashbulbs and cameras. Rich suggests performing a kind of ceremony, part seance and part dare, to draw out whatever presence lurks there. As the ritual begins, the temperature drops, the earth trembles, the candles flicker and then extinguish themselves. Suddenly, illusions begin to swarm them. The undead faces of Teddy and Susie, former classmates who died earlier in the season. Their corpses rise, floating and jerking like marionettes. The ground cracks beneath the kids' feet. They scramble, screaming, snapping photos in the chaos. When they finally escape, shaken and covered in dirt, they have no idea what they've actually captured. But once the film develops, they stare in horror and vindication. Among the blurry shapes and streaks of light, one image stands out: a figure in clown makeup with glowing eyes and razor teeth. Pennywise. The first physical evidence that Derry's terror is real. But as triumphant as the kids feel, the adults won't believe them. The images are too blurry, too easily dismissed as Halloween masks or a trick of the light. The police will throw them out, and Hank will stay behind bars. Still, for the kids, it's enough to know that they're not crazy. Derry really is haunted. The photographs also reveal something odd. Teddy and Susie appear clearly among the apparitions, but Phil and Maddie, the other missing kids, do not. That could mean they're not dead. Maybe they're still alive, held somewhere in the monster's underground lair. It's a small detail that might become crucial later.
Come back! Wait! Francis! Come back!
Francis and Rose, the weight of forgotten memories. While the kids uncover proof and the soldiers chase ghosts, the third thread of the episode turns deeply psychological. Through flashbacks, we learn that as a boy in the early 1900s, Francis once encountered the entity at a circus, possibly the same place where the real Pennywise the dancing clown once performed. The young Francis survived only because a girl named Rose used her father's slingshot to wound the creature. When Francis returns to Derry decades later as a decorated general, he remembers almost nothing about that summer. He doesn't even recall Rose's name. Only fragments remain: the feel of the slingshot, a memory of a girl's face, the smell of the circus. Rose, however, remembers everything. She's older now, wise and scarred, and she understands the cost of staying in Derry. She explains that the town itself has a way of making people forget once they leave. It's not just time erasing memory, it's the land, the presence, the power that sleeps beneath. The more distance one puts between themselves and Derry, the foggier their past becomes. The supernatural explanation is clear. It manipulates perception, controlling who remembers and who forgets. As long as people forget, the cycle can continue. No one warns outsiders. No one believes survivors. Derry stays a perfect feeding ground, but there's also a social and historical layer here. The episode quietly critiques the privilege of people like Francis, white Americans who can leave trauma behind, who can forget suffering once they've moved on. The indigenous community, represented by Rose and her nephew, never had that luxury. For them, Derry is home, no matter how cursed it is. They must coexist with its evil because abandoning it means losing their history, their sacred land, and their identity. Rose's calm anger toward Francis is striking. She knows he's lying about the government's excavation project. She knows the military isn't looking for oil or minerals, but for the entity itself. And maybe, deep down, she knows the men digging in sacred ground deserve whatever horror comes for them. Her choice to let the soldiers fall into its trap feels deliberate, an act of vengeance cloaked as indifference. This thread redefines Derry as more than a haunted town. It's a wound, a place where colonial violence, spiritual corruption, and supernatural evil overlap. The land doesn't just breed monsters, it remembers them. Even when people forget, Derry doesn't.
Grandma. He's coming, Dickie. Get out of here.
Dick's shine and the monster's hunger. One of the most fascinating parts of the episode is the parallel between Dick Halloran and Pennywise. Both feed off psychic energy. One nurtures it, the other consumes it. The idea that it could feed not just on fear but on steam, the psychic essence explored in Dr. Sleep, connects the two corners of the Stephen King universe in a way that feels natural. The creature's brief attempt to control Dick's mind in the helicopter foreshadows a deeper battle between them. If Dick's shine allows him to sense it, it also makes him visible to it. Like a lighthouse in the dark, his power calls to the thing beneath Derry. It's a dangerous connection that could destroy him or give him the strength to fight back. Leroy senses this danger too. At dinner, when Dick's mind brushes against his, he feels the same violation he experienced during a secret military test. That moment of mutual understanding forms the foundation of what might become one of the show's strongest relationships. Two black men navigating a world and a mission dominated by white authority, trying to survive something beyond human comprehension. Their partnership isn't just about hunting a monster, it's about protecting each other in a system that doesn't value them. Closing thoughts. Episode 3 isn't the most terrifying hour of Welcome to Derry, but it's one of the most important. It shifts the series from surface-level scares to deep mythology. It gives the monster a history, the town a motive, and the characters' real emotional weight. The horror isn't just in the jump scares, it's in what Derry makes people forget, what it erases from history, and what it forces its citizens to relive. The photograph of Pennywise may be blurry, but its meaning is crystal clear. The nightmare is real, and proof doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes, knowing the truth only ensures you'll never escape it.